I was just looking at the calendar and I realized it's September already. And every Apple enthusiast knows what that means. New iPhone, new iOS. And the iPhone 15, hopefully it will be amazing. But the question a lot of us are asking already is that should I get the iPhone 14 at a lower price after the iPhone 15 launches? That is the question that we are going to answer in today's video. Hey guys, I'm Adit Bhatia and let's start with the changes Apple made in the iPhone 14. Now, to start off, there's the minor changes, there's the same exact processor as the 13, but what they've done is they've put one extra GPU core that you will probably never notice. There's a marginally better battery, and we'll just leave the minor changes there and get into the major stuff, the big stuff. There's action mode, which stabilizes the camera. It zooms in digitally and uses that extra room left on the corners to compensate for the shakes in the camera and makes the video super steady. And cinematic mode now records at 4K 30 FPS instead of 1080p 30 FPS. There's a new photonic engine that clicks multiple photos when you snap the shutter, and it fuses all of them together. One photo at low exposure, one photo at high exposure, and so on. There's multiple photos at different exposures, and it uses AI and machine learning to fuse all of them together and improve mid to low light photos by as much as 49% according to their claims. There's emergency SOS via satellite, which means in the absence of cell coverage, you can simply point your phone towards the sky. The phone will tell you where the satellite is. You can point the phone towards the satellite, it connects to the satellite, and you can send an SOS message or an SOS call, and maybe even send the location over. Now, to be fair, that feature is only available in select countries and will only be free for this year. Apple is planning to monetize it somewhere in the near future. Now, the next big change is there's autofocus in the selfie camera. Now, most of you might think there is already autofocus, but the selfie cameras actually have a fixed point of focus, which means that the image will be perfectly clear only at arm's length. Anything a little bit further or a little bit closer will be slightly blurry, but manufacturers just figured that it should be fine. But what Apple did this time around is made it a variable point of focus, which means no matter if you're far away, no matter if you're close by, the camera can adjust its point of focus to be exactly the distance that you are at, giving you a clear photo every time. And lastly, there's a new Plus model, which has a bigger 6.7-inch display instead of a 6.1-inch display. Bigger screen, bigger battery, everything else being the exact same. Now, the second point to consider is what iPhone do you currently have? Starting off, if you have the iPhone 13, I'm just going to say it, don't get a 14, it's a waste. For your money, you will get one extra GPU core. You will get 2 milliamp hours extra of battery. And it's the same body, it's the same screen, it's the same cameras at the back. The front camera is changed up a little bit, but you wouldn't really notice that much. So what I would advise you to do is tell people you have a 14 instead of actually buying a 14. They will not notice, I can guarantee that. If, however, you have an iPhone 12, then the major changes for you will be 1. Sensor shift stabilization. What this means is that the image sensor behind your camera, that itself moves to counter the little bit of motion in your video instead of the whole camera lens moving around to counteract that. Now, the benefit of this is that the sensor is way lighter than the camera itself, and it's very much lighter and easier to move. So it's faster and way more smoother. You get 20 hours of video playback instead of 17. The notch is a little thinner, but it is also a little longer, so that's your pick. But you get a 23% performance uplift. Considering how fast the 12 already is, I mean, you won't notice that much, but if you're an enthusiast, you will notice it. And as for cameras, you will see a difference, but only in the very low light, challenging scenarios. In bright daylight, it's still a 12 megapixel sensor with the exact same aperture. You will not notice. Now, one thing to note about older iPhones is that Apple will limit their CPU's performance to overcome the impacts of battery degradation. The more you use your iPhone, the more the battery of the iPhone degrades. And Apple limits the performance of the CPU to give you a battery that still lasts the whole day. And you can think of it like eco mode in a car. And not to mention, the new iPhones have a more boxy and squared off design. And moving from an 11, you will feel the upgrade. It will feel like a new phone. Now, talking about the major changes, you get a 37% performance uplift compared to the 11. And that is compared to a brand new 11 with no battery degradation. Coming from your iPhone 11, you will feel the performance uplift. Plus, in today's day and age, one big factor to consider is 5G. The iPhone 11 doesn't have 5G, and now that 5G is actually a common thing, you will notice the difference in daily life. You get ceramic shield on the front and back, which puts a layer of ceramic crystals in front and behind the phone to make it way more durable. And MagSafe, the accessories popping up, the battery pack, the MagSafe stands, it's a whole ecosystem you can buy into. Plus, one very big upgrade is the screen. You get a 2,000,000:1 contrast ratio OLED panel with perfect blacks compared to the LCD panel on the iPhone 11, which had a mere 1400:1. Compare that to 2,000,000, 1400. That's a big jump. There's 800 nits of peak brightness compared to just 625. You will feel that in daylight while using your phone. It is way more visible. And don't even get me started on low light photography. The 14 simply steamrolls over the 11. The deep fusion in the 11, which is, you can think of it like a lower variant of the photonic engine in the iPhone 14. Instead of using AI and machine learning to combine multiple photos, the 11 takes 3 photos, one normal, one at high exposure, one at low exposure, and merges them. The 14 takes more than 6 at different exposures and merges all of them, then uses AI and machine learning. The photos will be a big upgrade. And the upgrade to record cinematic videos in action mode, record in Dolby Vision, take night mode time lapses. They're all big upgrades. The upgrade would very much be worth it, and you should pull the trigger. If you have an iPhone that's older than the 11, like the 10s or 10R, then you should upgrade to the 13 or 14 depending on your budget. You'll have a rather similar experience, because this year will possibly be the last year you will get a major iOS update. After iOS 17, the industry speculates that your phone will not get iOS 18, so I think this is a good time to upgrade. However, if you have a phone that is older than the 10s, then you need to update. Apps will stop working and your phone will be heavily limited. You won't get new features, and over time, you won't be able to use a lot of apps that you already use. Now, let's summarize. If you have a 13, don't upgrade. If you have a 12, if you really care about 27% extra performance, go for it. If you have an 11, you should upgrade to the 14. But if you have anything older, upgrade to the 13 or 14, depending on your budget, you will be fine. It's September and we're talking about iPhones. We cannot not talk about the new shiny iPhone 15. Now we'll know for sure when it's launched, but for now, here's 5 rumors that Apple is going to be making changes in the iPhone 15. Starting with number 1, the European Union recently passed a law that states that every handheld/portable device sold in the European Union has to have a Type-C port. Now, Apple can comply with this law in 2 ways. 1, put a USB-C port on the iPhone. Or number 2, pull a classic Apple move and disrupt the entire industry by removing a charging port altogether. It wouldn't be unprecedented for Apple because they did the same thing with the iPhone 7 and they could push for wireless charging and MagSafe to be the standard. Number 2, Dynamic Island in all iPhone 15 models. The notch is finally going to be gone from the lineup. All models will have a way more modern looking screen with the wide hole punch Apple calls the Dynamic Island. Talking about the display, it will have thinner bezels and the display will be curved to be seamlessly integrated into the body. Now, speaking of the body, the Pro models are rumored to have a titanium chassis, and the Pro models will also have a periscope zoom lens. What that means is that the camera lens will look normal from the outside, but it will have a series of magnifying lenses placed horizontally across the body of the phone, which Apple is rumored to put a 6 times magnification in for a way better optical zoom experience. And finally, number 5. Last year, Apple introduced a brand new 48 megapixel sensor for the iPhone 14 Pro series. However, this year, Apple is rumored to be putting that exact same sensor in the regular iPhone 15s to make it for everyone. That makes the image quality way better. The Pro RAWs and the 2x, you could call it optical zoom. I mean, it's not exactly optical zoom, but Apple does call it optical zoom. All of that will come to the iPhone 15s. Now, market conditions state that they can't give 2 minor updates and they have to bring major changes in the 15. That is simply how the market works. That's all we have for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you when the 15 comes out. Bye for now.